Hey, welcome. I'm Sandra Funk, and this is Design Sips. And today, as you may have noticed, I have an incredible guest. Standard member Juliane Mazzarella is here. Cheers to you.
Cheers.
All right. Nothing wrong with a little wine while we chat biz. Okay, so Juliane is a designer from Pennsylvania who is approaching her 6th year in business. She's a standard member, but what I want to hear is what was your business like before you did the interior design standard?
It's hard to say, but it was a little messy. I have to say, I knew where I wanted it to be. I knew what I could take it to, but it was how to get there and how to get there confidently. It's a tricky place as a designer. A lot of us are individuals. A lot of us are really defined as small businesses and solopreneurs, such as myself, work out of our homes, such as, you see here. And that doesn't mean you have to be small. And I'm ready to take it. I was ready to take it to the next level. I needed to take it to the next level. My creativity was calling me to take it to the next level. And I didn't want to stumble along the way because my reputation is too important. And being in business for that many years, when you get out of your comfort zone, I didn't want customer service to suffer as I grew. And I knew I was hitting my max at where I was at if I didn't improve my systems.
Wow. Yeah.
I mean, that's really in a nutshell.
Yeah, but that's such a just coming from just a very entrepreneurial, mature place. And it's beautiful that you're going to protect your art, your reputation, your customers, and that the calling was there to grow. And it was about doing it in a responsible way, I would say.
Yeah. I didn't want to burn any bridges going through some of those growing pains. And I do think that there are some magical numbers in life and in a business, and hitting that 5-year mark during COVID and coming up on the 7-year itch of you're going to pass or fail here. And that's also when a lot of burnout happens. And that's what was happening, is not streamlining the process, not standing in my space. And I think that was the part. I probably watched almost a year's worth of design sips and videos and just kept saying, oh, no. I know what I need to do. I can do this. And then it was just like, no, you can't. And you're not going to do this well. Someone else has already done it for you. Take their lead.
I was just getting chills hearing you talk about that hitting that 5-year mark and knowing the growing pains and getting through some tough times. And I think sometimes we put our head down and we just plow forward, right? And there are those times, and certainly, the 2008 recession, the pandemic, there are these big mile markers where we stop and reflect and we look around. And it sounds like you're very self-reflective and have just an awareness of your capabilities and where you need to level up. So it's an honor to have you as part of the program, truly. You're welcome. Okay, so you kind of covered, I was just going to ask you what attracted you to the standard, but I think you covered that pretty well. All right, so I'm going to go further. Did you have any hesitations about digging into the standard? And what was your journey like of thinking you might be interested in doing it and actually taking it on?
Well, I got the emails. I read every one of them and just grabbed as many nuggets as I could. I watched the design sips, and they would give me these ideas and I jot them down, and I have a notebook full of ideas and full of things I should do. And I think many of us in this industry are perfectionists. And I think that many of us who take on the more intensive renovation and remodel type jobs can get into some analysis paralysis. And so it would be like, I really should formalize that and get a welcome packet together. That'd be great. I should do that. I'm going to do that. What's it going to look like? And then, a project would come up, or a problem would come up, or something else would come up, or oh, I'm homeschooling my children for the next year. Fantastic. Let's put that on our plate on top of trying to keep a business afloat. Woo, good times. I was not great 2 years ago. I was not great.
Neither was I.
And again, it was that same thing. Like, I think there was one time where, or it was at the very beginning of the program, or it might have been in one of the videos where it was, each job is not a unicorn. And all of a sudden I went, oh no, she really does get it. I am doing that. This has to stop. You know, it was this wake up call. It really was a wake up call. And it did take a while. And it was also hard for me to justify the expense, but I am learning, just like my clients, I'm worth it. The course is worth it. I learned, much like my services are worth it, the service you're providing is worth it. And I also really have to say that I genuinely felt it didn't feel like lip service, that you were saying, let's lift all boats, you know, let's all stand in our space. Let's make this entire industry take on that next level of respect. And that was the part that, like, I really believed it, just with the information you were sharing in Design Tips. Like, you mean that, and you were standing behind that 110%. And why would I not want that for myself and any other designer out there?
I appreciate that landed, because it is the truth. You know, I talk about, and I've told this story, but in case you didn't hear it somewhere else, I came from business process consulting to interior design, and I didn't notice it in the early years when I was a salesperson and I was learning and I was working for other designers. But when I owned my own business and I got the response at a cocktail party of, oh my gosh, that must be so fun. You get to shop all day. I wanted to rip my hair out of my head. And, you know, back up, whatever that was, 5 years earlier, 7 years earlier, whatever it was, when I was a business process consultant and I was a baby fresh out of school, and I would tell people I'm a business process consultant for Anderson Consulting, and they would, or Accenture, I just really dated myself, and they'd be like, oh my goodness, oh, you know, big, blah, 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 like big swinging dick. And I was like, no, the big swinging dick, pardon my French, is being an entrepreneur. Like, it is such a handful. It takes so much courage and so much responsibility. And it was shocking to me how little respect the industry as a whole, as an army of entrepreneurs, this industry was. So I appreciate that you heard that, because man, it gets me fired up.
Right. Yeah. My line is, I didn't go to 6 years of evil design school to get called Mr. Thank you very much. You know, like, it's totally the Dr. Evil line, hands down, every time. You know, I have a 4-year degree in this. This is all I've ever done. I am ASID. I am NCIDQ. I worked at an architecture firm. I paid my dues. I worked in a furniture store. I worked at Lowe's at one point. I know going in what this is going to entail. This is not, ooh, let's put a rug over here and a plant over here, and sweetheart, it's going to be amazing.
Right. No, exactly. And that just the idea that is the perception is something that I'm like, okay, let's upend that. I also, it really hit home, and it hit me that it was an epidemic. It wasn't just my firm that was struggling along. That annual ASID newsletter, that report that comes out, and it gave us, and I don't know what year this was that I read it, but it was like the average income of an interior designer was like $40,000. And I was like crumpling it up and throwing it across the room and like, enough, this is crazy. Like, it is so much work. It is so much heart. It is so much passion, and it's undervalued, like from so many layers, from the cocktail party comments to the income that we make.
It is.
Okay, soapbox.
Right, I know, right? Like, that's a whole nother design steps. We don't need to get it.
I know, it is. Okay, so let's roll it back, Sandra. So tell me, Juliane, what was your experience like once you had the standard in your hot little hands? How was it getting that into your firm? How was that implementation?
It's been baby steps a little bit. I started using I had 2 jobs right away that I was like, okay, these are some serious gems that I can implement right away. There were some other things like the contract, et cetera, that, you know, just took a little while to get a lawyer to look at, to start to use, and things like that. But going through different portions of the modules, the things that I could just like, I was like, oh, that needs to happen yesterday. I did. And the templates that you provide, the spreadsheets that you provide. I was very fortunate that I have robust reporting already. So those parts were confirming what I already knew. But what was particularly helpful was the pricing structure, and the contract is insane. It's amazing. I would do that for the entire course. Because, and I think I might have mentioned this in that initial feedback questionnaire, there is a genius to this process from the very beginning and everything that you provide, where there's something in that discovery call that gets brought up again at the consult, that gets brought up again in the contract, that gets brought up again at the conceptual design meeting, that gets brought up again, where it's a given by the point an objection would possibly even show up. You've eliminated it. And then weekly emails, oh my God, like how simple. Yet if you've got a template and you've got a checklist of just knowing who needs to get that email and when and about what, it goes like this. And even if I, you know, because I'm now taking on fewer jobs, but bigger projects, but there was this spot there where I had probably 15 clients, which for me, that's too much. And depending on the size of the job or where it was at, but just to be able to like, so I had 2 bathrooms come through right away. And again, I followed through and I went through a thorough questionnaire, and I had the contract that said, no, this is going to be X and this is your budget. And we stuck to that. I was able to present everything in one presentation. I wasn't freaking out because I forgot to ask if they hate yellow. I wasn't wondering if they preferred photography to like, you know, like there was all this minutia that I had already covered because I'd been following that client process. I did one presentation with one option, and they did everything paid in full at that appointment, 2 jobs in a row. If that was not proof enough for me that this worked and there was something really profound in its simplicity and yet how thorough it was. And their experience, you know, I just finished dropping off some fixtures and checked the vanity that got delivered to their house because construction's going to start next month. And she tells me, she's like, I have a girlfriend who did a kitchen through ABC Kitchen Company. And let me tell you, things are wrong. It's not done yet. They've been in construction for months. We haven't even broken ground, and I can already see that you are amazing and you've done everything you promised. And we are so grateful that we hired you. And they haven't even started the remodel.
And they're already singing your praises.
I mean,
cheers to that. Oh my gosh, cheers to that. Yes. You built trust, right? It's that continual that communication. It can seem a little redundant, right? When you're in the purchasing phase and you're waiting for something to start, it's just every week they're still getting that same damn email, but it builds trust. They just know where to find you. They know you're going to show up no matter what.
And I didn't get the weird Friday night freak out 9 o'clock call or text message right before you go to bed going, one, why are they texting me on a Saturday? I'm not thinking about this. Why are you thinking about this? But it's the most important thing going on in your life right now. So of course you're thinking about it. And then I can't go to bed. Because now I'm like, but I can't call anybody till Monday. Don't do this to me on a Saturday, please. You know, so.
It used to happen to me all the time. I would get, and it is that Friday night, they get home from their work, from their must do, right? And then they come back into their personal life and they go, I wonder what's going on with this project. And boom, they fire off that, haven't heard from you. What the heck's going on? And if you have 15 clients and you don't have a system, how are you going to just remember to give everybody that little update, right? I'm so thrilled. There's so much in what you just said. I could pick that apart all day long. My favorite part is that you I feel like she got the assignment. Like where those really important things are in the initial call, they're in the agreement, they're reminders at the presentation, they're said in the in-person presentation. Like there's so many times where, you know, in your design agreement, in your business, there's these 3, 5, 10 things that you need to make sure they don't just hear once, they don't see, you know, people learn, they see video, they read, they have to get it every which way until you are positive that that has passed into their psyche for it to really be a good relationship, right? To set those expectations. So I love it. I love it. Very exciting. Okay. I'm going to keep going. I'm seeing, so how would you describe your business now?
Growing. I mean, different and growing. Mindset is important, you know, and that's the other thing that I think you sort of opened up this door with the stand in your space, you know, and it's opened up this door to this new level of confidence where I am no longer just doing consultations. I am no longer doing anything other than 100% procurement. I am no longer giving somebody construction documents and saying, okay, if you want to go to a different contractor than the ones that I recommend, have at it. So I'm making a lot of internal changes. I've also raised my minimum. You know, a tough, weird truth for me was that my closing rate was too high. You know, I can't be everything to everyone. Oh, your mother needs a rug? Sure. Let me go out there. Let me drive 45 minutes to help your mother buy a rug off of Wayfair. I'd love to do that. Oh, she's 80? Right. Oh, I won't even charge. Of course. Whatever I can do to help, I'm here for you. I'm a designer. I want everybody to have a beautiful life. And that's just that's not sustainable. That's not sustainable. And there are enough people who are building a portfolio and growing their business and building a reputation and learning the ins and outs of this industry that would love to pick that rug for somebody's grandma. It's not my job anymore. It is not my job anymore.
Take that testimonial. Yes. It's funny. I had some big kind of stand in your space moment happening on social, and somebody outside the industry commented, I need some professional help sometimes from an interior designer, and I'm glad my designer doesn't have this script, because it was about kind of like standing in your space and knowing your minimums and da-da-da. And I said, well, it sounds like your interior designer does, because you're their ideal client, and I'm glad you found each other. Right? Like there is someone for everyone. There is someone who's putting a toe in the water and thinking about leaving their corporate career, who's just thrilled that they're going to get to do some design work, right? That they're going to go and do that and take that testimonial and take a couple photos and start to get that referral buzz going. There is someone for everyone. And when I say stand in your space and, you know, fewer larger projects, I don't mean that there's going to be people left without a designer. I mean that you're going to put out the vibes for the thing that's right for you, and everyone else will do the same. And then we just find our people faster.
Yeah.
You know, when we have clarity.
Yeah. And I think that would be another thing too, is that there are things I don't want to do new construction. That's too much for just me, you know? And I'll make some choices. You know, I had a conversation with a girlfriend recently where she talked about, well, when you hit X, when you hit some of these goals that you've made for yourself in the next year, are you going to expand or are you going to create a wait list? And I said, well, wouldn't that be great to have that choice? Let me get there and I'll tell you, because I'm not making any promises. And I may decide, much like I wasn't going to systemize because everybody was a unique snowflake that deserved my undivided unique snowflake attention. No, there's a process and there's a system now. And I didn't know that till I tried it. So let me try putting people on a wait list. And if that drives me too crazy and I'm ready to expand and start to bring in a team, then that's the next step. But for now, I want to get really good at where I'm at, and where I'm at is going to continue to be really good. It's a sweet spot. And that's what it is too, is that this isn't about just turning into this thing. You've given enough room to make it fit your business and what you want to do as well. You know, I mean, is it the gospel? Am I doing 100% of it? No. I don't have a team, but when the time comes, if I want that team, I know exactly where I'm going to start. You know?
Awesome. Yeah. And I love that because it's about, we did lifetime access because one person's going to gobble it up. Another person's going to grab what they need today. They're going to pick their pain points, right? Um, it has to be, and then the last thing I could ever want is a whole bunch of automaton. How do you say that? Automaton? A whole bunch of samey designers. Like that's the worst thing on the planet, right? I mean, we know we get into samey design a lot, right? You keep seeing the same damn look over and over
Right.
again. That's not the point. The point is, yes, every project is a snowflake, but every process can follow the guidelines.
Yeah.
And I was in the same boat. I literally thought every single one of these projects, because I would do the same thing, a rug for grandma, and then a build from scratch, and then a historic renovation. And I was like, they're not they're apples and oranges. They're totally different. But I was also way too wide in what I was willing to take on, and I just wasn't being systematic. So I was there. The only reason I'm here is because I was already there, and I did all the things. So I love it. Okay, so are there what would be a standout aha or revelation, or like the biggest change that you made in your business post standard?
How I treat my consultations. Yeah, it was really the front end of the process, the front loading. I mean, all of it, but I would say the front loading. I don't know if I ever told anybody I didn't think I was the right fit on the phone, or if I didn't, in that discovery call, tell somebody exactly what they wanted to hear. And now I'm able to say, unfortunately, I charge $600 for my consults, and my design fees start at $5,000 minimum based on the square footage of the space. And while I appreciate that you're buying your first home and I wish you the best of luck with that, it doesn't make any sense for my services if you are looking at an X investment in your furnishings. That changed tremendously. And then from there, I now spend that consult getting to know my client, and not just having them get to know me, but I'm qualifying them more, because we are going to be on a long journey with today's lead times. And if there is renovating and remodeling in there, because while I don't do new construction, I do a lot of renovating and remodeling to older homes, and it is a 8 to 18 month process right now. I have clients that I started with in January that are going to be going into the spaces hopefully by the holidays. And when you've got that one project that doesn't light you up, it's amazing how it changes. It's human nature. You find yourself. So it's that front end. I have qualifying things that I am looking for, and I don't work well with perfectionists. I don't, I know who I'm looking for. I work well with busy professionals. I work well with engineer husbands. Go figure. They love me, doctor husbands, they love me because I'm digital enough. And I know my people now. I know my ideal client now. And so that front end really just changed everything.
Oh, that's so exciting. That just gets me going. Like now you're going to be seeking out, like, where are there speaking engagement? Where are the doctors hanging? Where are the engineers hanging?
LinkedIn's becoming a bigger focus for where I want to start putting my energy, because that's where the networking for professionals happens during the day. It starts to really change where you're having conversations and with who you're having those conversations with.
Yes. And the minute you say that to me, my brain can't help but start thinking, who do I know who's a doctor or an engineer that Juliane can do work for? And when you start to tell that to people start to look for that connection for you. When you just say, I'm a designer, okay, fine. But when you I don't do new builds, I work with this kind of person, I don't work with this kind of person, like the whole world conspires to make sure you find your people when you know who you're looking for.
Yeah.
Ah, awesome. Cheers to that. I love it. Mm-hmm. Design sips. I have to keep cheersing you. It's, a requirement, or I just like the wine. Okay. So my last question for you is, how has the standard impacted not just the business, but mindset, life, the wider picture?
it's okay to be good at what you do, and it's okay to be proud of it. And that, see, I even get a little choked up saying it. That's not me. That's me turning a new leaf in this new chapter of my life. And the business is reflecting that confidence as well, you know, and I'm giving myself permission to make that feel as natural as saying, I have brown hair and I have brown eyes. I am good at what I do. I am a professional.
Yes.
My services have value. I mean, just being able to say any of that is what I take away from it. And it's an example to my other designer friends. It is an example to the other designer groups that I belong to, whether they be virtually or in person. It changes how I talk to my kids. It changes how I talk to my spouse. It changed, I mean, it is a transformation. It affects everything because it is my business. It's right here. It's in my house. You know what I mean? And I can shut that door on Friday. And I also don't have those bad apples or those ones that are draining or those projects that are sucking the life out of me. That my 9 to 4 is my 9 to 4 and I give it 110%. And then on Friday, I send out those follow-up emails, let everybody know what the plan is for, you know, here's what happened this week. Here's what's happening next week. Have a great weekend. And then I shut it down. I'm putting my phone away and I'm present depending on what I'm doing. It's this compartmentalizing where it just hasn't turned into this hot mess that's just leaking all over my life too. You know, I mean, it's so much.
Oh, it's amazing. And I just tearing up right with you to hear just the pride, you know, just you are successful. You have made it through one of the most incredible times for a small business to survive. And owning that is huge, just huge. It is an absolute honor for me to know you, to have you as a standard member, and absolutely to have you here today. I thank you so much.
Hey, my pleasure. It was great talking with you. And again, I mean, from the bottom of my heart, thank you. It's been truly transformative.
So incredible.